Right now, we got a guest on right now, the Honorable Congressman who represents the 6th District and part of North Lafayette, Cleo Fields. He's going to give us an update, and we want to welcome him to 88.3 FM and AOC Community Media. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning, Congressman.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning,
to
Congressman.
you, all of you, and the citizens who are listening. Thanks for having me. We've had a very, very tough last week in Washington, D.C. They passed the big ugly bill, as I call it, and it is now in the hands of the Senate. But we get another bite at the apple. The impact of this bill on Louisiana. Louisiana stands to lose about 200,000 people actually in the whole state stand to lose their SNAP benefits, about 37,000 in District 6, and about 31,000 people stand to lose their health insurance. This bill, in my view, is very cruel. I mean, it is hitting the most vulnerable. It is taking away food assistance to people who really need them. And it's putting in this draconian work requirement, which is just a bunch of paperwork. And we've tried this before. You know, people love to beat up on poor people. And these assistants are really for people who do not have the wherewithal. And many times it's short term. People who lose their jobs don't have any food, have an opportunity to take advantage of the food assistance. I tried to put an amendment on the bill that, has some work requirements. So what I tried to do was say if a person is, lose their job to no fault of their own, that happens in America and it happens a lot. They should not be penalized. So if a person hours are reduced to less than the mandatory requirement, they should not be penalized. But the Republican House decided to not take none of them and denied all of our amendments. And at the end of the day, I think it's going to have a drastic impact on Louisiana because, as you know, Louisiana is an expansion state. And it gives the states the opportunity to pick up that coverage. But do you think the state of Louisiana will pick up that coverage? One, I don't think the state can afford it, and two, there's a question as to whether or not that would be a priority of this legislature. So I just think it's nearsighted, and it's bad for Louisiana. In fact, it's bad for the country, and I would hope that the Senate do something about it. And for those folk who are listening, call your U.S. senators. And call them today and give them a voice your concerns about the bill, because at this point it's in their hands.
And one of the concerns is what I hear from the people who follow our talk show. Because we plain Jane talk show. We just keep it real, and that's the way we've been rolling in South Louisiana for a long time. The thing is, I get from them, what about these other residual businesses that might be affected? The home health industry, the nursing homes. These are the things these people are concerned about, their loved ones who they have to take care of. How much of that bill, if it passes, and I hope to God it does not, will it affect those businesses, Congressman?
Absolutely. We predict that rural hospitals, for sure, across America, will close because if people don't have insurance, they have no, and they don't have nowhere, they're not doing it for free. So at the end of the day, rural hospitals across America will close. Nursing homes, to some degree, will be pinched hard. And look, it also affects grocery stores. People, this is the economy that we live in. You can't just target one group of people and not have a trickle effect. When you take the health care away from poor people, it's going to have a trickle effect on people who are in the business of providing health care for poor people. When you take away SNAP benefits from poor people, it's going to have a trickle effect. Those people who have grocery stores and corner stores, they will be affected. President Trump just has this. He lives in his own little island, just like he addressed the tariffs. I'm going to just tax every country, and then he see the impact, and the economy started crashing, and then he said, "Well, I'm gonna wait 60 more days." But that's not the way you govern. Elon Musk with his chainsaw standing on stage bragging about he has cut and reduced the budget. When he has no clue of the federal government, and how it works and how it operates and who it serves. Uh, Look, is there waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government? Absolutely. Should we cut it? Should we take it out? Yes. But you don't do it with a chainsaw. You take a scalpel and you do it methodically. You just, you go through the budget in a very careful manner and not just slash stuff because you can. And I think that's what they've been doing, and that's what's causing so much harm.
And one more
In
thing,
this country.
Congressman, your colleague from Louisiana, Congressman Mike Johnson, who's basically is the Speaker of the House in the sense that he's speaking on these issues. He's helped putting legislation forward. The thing is, has anyone sit down and talk to Mike and make him realize when you say 1.4 Louisianians might be in the interview with Jake Tapper and others, the stuff he said about able-bodied young men might be committing fraud? That is an insult. I don't know of any young person who sit around and trying to game the Medicare system. Actually, we have trouble getting our young people to sign up for those who have issues. Can you comment on that, and then we'll get a question from Brother Wise. Go ahead.
Well, Mike, Speaker Johnson is in a very tough position. I mean, his state will be hurt the most because we have more Medicaid recipients than per capita than any other state. So, and that's why I fought so hard. But look, he's in a tough position. He's the leader of the Republican Party. He has to carry the line. And I respect that. But at the end of the day, it's going to really have an adverse effect on the people we represent. Now, when the speaker talks about, look, it sounds good when you say a guy sitting in the basement playing on video games need to, go to work versus receiving some benefit. But that's not the reality, Now, is there a case of that? Maybe one or two, not a very small, minute number. By far, the folk who are on these, but and look, and I said to the Republicans, if you find a case like that, then take that person out, But they don't want to do that. They just want to play on the fears of America, saying that these programs are being filled with fraud and abuse because they want to give a tax break to the wealthiest people in America, and that's just wrong. And we're standing up to it. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries and all of the Democrats, not one Democrat voted against this bill. But voted for this bill. Every last one of them voted against it.
Congressman,
and they've been, yes, sir.
Thank you for being on and bringing us the information that the listeners need to hear. But my thing is, you have a house that is supposed to be representing the United States is predominantly white men, predominantly men that have the best health care, with them sitting in that seat, predominantly good pay, like you say, why attack the whole society instead of attack the person that is really causing the problem? And I know one bad apple spoils the whole barrel of apple, but why can't these people have a heart to understand that it's people out here that is suffering? You got homeless people, you got people that is struggling to put groceries on the table, you got people that is struggling to pay their bills. Why attack us as U.S. citizens?
Well, that's their approach. You attack the least of these. But listen, the American people are not blind to all of these factors. I think the American people are watching, they're listening, and in 18 months, the American people actually go back to the polls and vote for their House of Representatives. I mean, the framers of this Constitution, they made it very clear when they constructed the Constitution. The House of Representatives shall be the closest to the people, not the U.S. Senate. I mean, they get 6 years and they go away. The House is every 2 years, and if a person dies as a member of the Senate, the governor appoints that person. But if a person dies in the House, they can only get to the House by the vote of the people. And so I think people, the American people, have a lot of people who voted for President Trump, they now understand this guy is just mean. He's not strategic about anything that he does, and he's hurting me. And I think they're going to go to the polls, and they're going to voice their concerns. And I think that there's a high probability that the House will be taken back. And here's what happens when that happens. When that happens, then everything stops because he's not going to have a rubber stamp. He's going to have a House that's going to stand up to him. And look, we came close this time. I mean, one vote. If we just had one more vote, and be mindful of the fact, 3 of our members passed. Right. And so we're 3 members short to begin with. And like the governor of Texas, he have decided not to call the election for the gentleman who died in Texas, my very good friend Sylvester Turner, until November. Wow. So the people in Texas are just without a voting member of Congress, and those are the kind of games they play. Right. And we just have to be, very clear, and we have to be very precise. And we have to.
Congressman, good morning. Thank you for coming on. One thing we need to stress to the people, because a lot of way this game plan is rolling, it seems as if the president is a king. He controls everything. We gotta stress to the people that you got the Senate and you got the U.S. House of Representatives. That's Congress. Everything the president tries to enact have to get that approval. You got Congress that have to get that approval, and one of the people that's the head of one of the chambers of Congress, which is the House of Representatives, he's right here from Louisiana, and this bill that passed the House, if it passes the Senate, it's gonna hurt his own state. So we gotta stress to the people that these elected officials right here from here are doing things no matter how bad it hurts their district, how bad it hurts the people they represent. And we got to stress to the people to call the politicians. The president is not a king. The president doesn't rule a country. It's not what he said goes. It's Congress. There is a Congress.
You are preaching to the choir, because and look, I really appreciate what you're saying, because I've been saying it constantly in the legislature in Washington. But the problem is we have just given up our authority, our responsibility as members of Congress, and we've just handed it over to the president. And the president basically issues an executive order, and then we file in line. I mean, I just think that's wrong. And look, you're right. Congress should be the institution with the checks and balances. I mean, the courts, quite frankly, are doing more as an independent body than the legislature. And the legislature was always the place for the people to get to right a wrong when a president issues an executive order. But now we have to wait on the courts. Why? Because the Congress has decided to just rubber stamp every single thing he does. Now, The president lacks that. Let me tell you why. Because he really wants a dictatorship. He really feels that he is king of America. And when I say something, it goes. And that's why he got his puppet Elon Musk. And people say he's the richest man in the world. And there are some people in Congress who's fearful of that. You know, if any Republican get in my way, I'm going to have Elon to put up his money, and we're going to primary them. And so some, many, they get afraid and they stand, fall in line. But at the end of the day, the country was not designed to have this type of leadership in the White House, a lack of. This guy is just, Harvard. I mean, he's taking on higher education. He's just, look, if he don't like you, huh?
Congressman, you want to take a caller. We got a caller who very urgently want to talk to you. And
I'm sorry.
He had some good feedback. No, that's okay. We want you to roll. That's how Cleo Field rolls since he did the radio show in Baton Rouge that made me a fan of talk radio. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning, guys. This is Coach. Hey, Senator Cleo Fields, before I forget this thought, I want to say it now. Right now, Elon Musk and Donald Trump are in a disagreement. They're disagreeing on that big, beautiful bill thing. Read what Elon Musk wrote lately and how he don't like the things that's in there. And I don't know why he don't like it, because I thought they were partners and I thought they were friends or good comrades and on the same, administration. But Elon Musk is not liking what's on that bill because maybe it doesn't do for Elon Musk what Elon Musk wants, but it's going to do for Donald what it does what Donald wants. So they got to talk about that. That's available now. Now I'm going to talk to you. Senator Cleo Fields, you mentioned that in so many words, Dave, our Congress have succumbed to their power and given it to him. The Democratic part of our leadership have basically folded in so many words. I'll use my own word, folded in to what Trump is doing. Well, Senator Cleo Fields, I want to ask you this. When did that happen? Did that happen 2 months ago, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago? When did the Democrats do this by giving up their strength, their power, their rights to sit in Washington and to dictate, to legislate, and to do the things that the American people done each one of them there for? Senator Fields, we got together and we sent you there for a job to do, a mission. And Senator Fields, currently, you are doing what we're asking. I'll close with this. Senator Fields, Louisiana is in a crisis. Senator Fields, you know this crisis that we're in all its shapes and all its forms, from education to our jailing system, to our interstate system. We don't have a loop around Lafayette. They want to tear down a bridge in Lake Charles that don't need to be torn down. They need to spend that money in Lafayette and build a loop around here so we could get all this traffic away, because we started bringing in families, building homes, and the bottom line is we don't have enough roads around here. Baton Rouge gets a new interstate. Every time you turn around, they got a road off of I-10 that drives you straight into the Mall of Louisiana, and people from everywhere doing commerce can shop there, and none of those stores are closing.
Coach, he has limited time, Coach.
I'll close with this. To you brothers, I'm going to close with this. To you brothers, Jay, and you other two brothers at this radio station, I'm going to turn it over to y'all. Y'all are doing a fantastic job.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Cleo, one day, you and Coach, we'll meet, brother, and we'll drink coffee. I got my Martin Luther King cup that I just got sent back by my wife, and I want you to have a King cup.
Yes.
You see, what Martin did, Martin and them, they passed the torch. It's our hand.
All right.
Got a job to do, and our mission is completion.
To answer,
Get the job done. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Apparently, Congressman, he wants you back as a state senator.
Well, first of all, let me thank the gentleman for his call.
Yes.
And he's right about, King basically said freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. So he's right in the respect that Congress, he one of the questions he said, when did the Democrats, when did this start? I mean, from my perspective, it just started. It started in January when President Trump decided to issue these executive orders, like doing away with DEI. I mean, one thing for certain, he has really unified the Democratic Party. on the national level. I mean, I don't think we've lost but one single Democrat in all of these votes who voted with the Trump administration, and he quickly changed his tune, right after he went home, I guess. But at the end of the day, Elon Musk, he mentioned, Elon Musk and President Trump is not on the same page. At the end of the day, who really cares? I mean, this guy I have no respect for. I mean,
Yeah.
he has really, tried to just, kill our economy. All he cares about, in my view, is Elon Musk,
And
and that's why when that stock started to go down, he decided to get out,
yes.
because the American people said, "Look, we're not buying your cars, we're not supporting your products, we're not supporting, products like PayPal. We're just going to stand still." And he realized the impact that the American economy is having on his business, so I have nothing to say about
And
this guy.
Congressman, another very important issue for people like me who started out as a community activist and was part of organizing media around different serious situations as it relates to law enforcement. The issue with the Justice Department not becoming the bulwark to protect us against incidents such as the George Floyd, such as in Louisiana, the Ronald Green situation, the Justice Department advocating its position to protect people against rogue police officers. In other words, Trump's new directive called Unleash the Police, that is very troubling to our local community. I want you to get your take on that.
Well, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, the Justice Department has always played a role in protecting people, and particularly minorities. I mean, not only in voting, but in civil rights, in police brutality, and now he has taken the Justice Department to do just the opposite. I mean, to have the head of the Justice Department to stand up and say, "We're not going to have any DEI programs," that's one of your responsibilities, is to protect, the damned, the doomed, the disenfranchised, and have not. You are to protect people who are discriminated against only because of their race, only because of their sex. That is one of your primary function.
Well, look at
You
that
are,
Supreme Court judge that he's trying to fire for going against him, Congressman.
well, one thing about the Supreme Court, and I know, I get a lot of dissent when I say this in town hall meetings. Uh, you know, there's a reason why the U.S. Supreme Court uh, judges and federal judges are appointed for life. And the reason for that is because, irrespective of what party, what president appointed them, they shouldn't be beholden to them or anybody else. They should be beholden to the Constitution. And I think President Trump is finding that out. I believe that, we have over 200 lawsuits filed in this country against these executive orders, and we are winning every day. I firmly believe that the Supreme Court ultimately will rule that most, by far, of these executive orders are unconstitutional. And you will find that many of them were appointed by the president. I mean, because that's how a democracy should work. You can't threaten a Supreme Court justice. Have fun. You go right ahead. They are there to do a job. And I firmly believe that the Supreme Court will do, although Congress has, failed to do its job up to this point. I do believe that the Supreme Court will step in rather, and do its job.
Senator Fields, I got
Congressman.
Congressman, my bad.
Coach wanted him to be.
No,
Coach
just
wanted
Cleo,
him back
man.
in
That's the
Louisiana.
name.
Coach got me
Cleo.
calling
That's the
him
name
senator
my
now, but,
mama gave me. And that's
Congress,
the name I'm most proud of, Cleo.
Congressman Fields. My thing is, when these executive orders once they get ruled unconstitutional by the courts, what happens next? Or
Well, that's a very good point because there's been some talk about that. And I think the president has backed up a little bit because if you recall, he was saying, I don't care what the courts, the Supreme Court decide, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. That's when you have really, crossed the line and you have really, you're in a constitutional crisis. Hopefully this president and all of his advisors will advise him, I hope, that once the Supreme Court, which is the highest law interpreter in the land, once they have made a decision, no matter if he likes it or not, he should go along with it. If he doesn't, then we're in a real constitutional crisis, and there's been some thoughts on both sides as to how that would work out. I would hope that we never see that day. I would hope that he comply with the Supreme Court's order, and when he lose, and he needs to move on. But if not, we're going to be in a serious constitutional crisis.
Because my thinking is, and it's just like here what's going on in the state of Louisiana with the governor. We're facing the same issues with the governor here in Louisiana. Because my thing is, he don't get past the Supreme Court with these executive orders. The next thing is to go to Congress, which is the House of Representatives and the Senate, and say, I want this change in the Constitution.
He could very well do that, and that would be within his right and Congress's prerogative. So, for example, if the Supreme Court issues a ruling that he doesn't like, he meaning the president, his only recourse is to go to Congress and get them to change the law. Or make it clear of his view, make his view clear, and then pass that law and then try to enforce that law. And then the Supreme Court can then determine if that law is constitutional or not. The Supreme Court's responsibility is to make sure that all laws complies with the Constitution. So when it articulates a ruling, they have already said that this law, we can pass all the laws we want to. But if they fly in the face of the Constitution, those laws shall be stricken down by the Supreme Court. So he can do that, but the same results will probably come forward if they fly in the face of one of the amendments of the Constitution.
I'd like to ask the congressman if is he concerned, or any one of the Louisiana delegation, let's say more a compassionate part of the delegation, concerned about all the jails and deportation centers that's being opened in Louisiana, even by the private prison industry. As a progressive, I am concerned that when they what we call disappear people, they take people away, they are bringing them to Louisiana. Louisiana always had a bad history with the number of people in prison. Now the feds are actually making it into a capital, actually giving it the prison capital of the world. Is there a concern with you and your colleagues about that?
Well, my basic concern is just due process. Look, I mean, if the government wants to arrest somebody, they can do that. I mean, they've always had the right to do that. But that person should have the due process of law. You just can't arrest people, and the Constitution is clear. That's any person, If you arrest a person in the United States of America, they are entitled to due process of law, unless you arrest them under the Alien Enemies Act, and the courts have already held you can't use that. So, to pick these people up, fly them into Louisiana and hold them, and not even say what they're arrested for is wrong, and I think the ACLU is absolutely right. I'm glad that they filed so many habeas corpus proceedings because the courts have gotten involved. You just can't do that. I mean, these people do have constitutional rights. They do have the right to be accused. To know what they're accused of, and to be able to defend themselves.
Congressman, I was talking to my daughter, and she was telling me about I need to get a real ID. And she explained to me because they having so many policemen arresting people under the assumption that they're not U.S. citizen. And I told her she made good sense. So I'm in the process of trying to get a real ID. Would you recommend that we start working towards getting a real ID so in case they try to stop us for any reason, we have that ID to prove that we are U.S. citizen?
Well, first of all, the real ID is for the purpose of travel. So when folk want to get on a plane, they have to have a real ID. So I recommend any person who wishes to travel, go to the motor vehicle place in your area, and take two forms of birth certificate, of mail, whatever, to get a real ID. But that is not grounds for people to stop you and treat you less than a citizen if you don't have one. I mean, and law enforcement needs to be very clear about that. That is not the reason for the real ID. Now, I encourage people who travel, obviously, to get it, because that's going to be the only way you can travel. So your daughter is absolutely right in that respect.
Also, you see, Brother Wilder is bringing up some side issues that I have, and I don't want to burden you, Congressman, with all of this stuff going on in my head. It's a lot. The issue with the ICE agents, the federal police that the Trump administration under the Homeland Security is using, or having, to me, I'm under the impression they're having more power than any other segment of law enforcement, where they could actually arrest a person on the street if they deem that person is violating any law enforcement situation that they're a part of. Meaning they could come and arrest you because they think you might not be a citizen without any due process. Well, not the due process, but understanding in the interaction between them. I'm hearing a lot of that. I don't know how much it is happening in Louisiana. But is there a concern by you and your colleagues about that too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we filed lawsuits. Look, members of Congress can't file lawsuits, but what we do is we file amicus briefs, and we support those nonprofit organizations like the ACLU, NAACP, Legal Defense Fund. All of those organizations that are filing lawsuits, we support them, and to the extent that we, as members of Congress, can file a lawsuit, we filed 2 already. But at the end of the day, police have, they can arrest people, they can arrest anybody, but at the end of the day, they have to, give that person due process of law, and that's the whole purpose of due process, because when you take due process out of the equation, then you have a rogue police office, police department. They can just go arrest anybody anytime they get ready and hold them and not bring them to court and not even charge them. That's not America. Right. You can't do that. You can arrest me, but you got to tell me why. Right. And you got to give me my day in court. And the Constitution has already spoke to those issues. And I also got a right to a speedy trial. I mean, what we're doing is violating the Constitution, and the courts have stepped in and they've voiced their concerns on it as well.
And Congressman, I want to make it clear, because I don't want nobody to get scared. They can't just arrest you without probable cause. They can't just arrest you without a cause to arrest you.
Yeah. You made the point that they were, but look, they are arresting people without probable cause. They are doing that, and that's why that due process, which is part of due process, you got to have probable cause to arrest people. But there are folk, ICE, agents who are arresting people because they can. And that's why due process plays such an important role. I've been arrested. Now tell me why you've arrested me. You know, and give me my day in court. You know, or let me go.
You know, another thing, Congressman, you say it's for air travel. Well, far as I'm concerned, it's traveling on the ground too, because if you go into another state and you have different license plate in that state, they could stop you and want to know where your location, what location you're going in. And I say that because I have had that to happen to me quite a few times in my travels, you know. So this is why I'm saying it, to try to make people aware of what's going on, you know, real ID. Get your real ID. I'm sorry, it's not just for air travel.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak against that. Listen, I support what you're saying. You know, if you people, but I don't want the government to feel that they can just pull people over, and if they don't have a real ID, you know, that's probable cause for them to be to harass them.
Right.
You know, but look, I fully support what you're saying. And follow the gentleman's words. Go get your real ID. But I do not want, you know, law enforcement to feel that they got carte blanche authority to harass people who don't have one.
Right.
And lastly, I don't want to keep you. I don't want to keep a congressman. I know he's a busy person. I really appreciate the amount of time. Anything you want to say to the South Louisiana listening audience or the audience that part of your district in North Lafayette? Anything you want them to know?
I just want people to be, you know, I mean, people are aware of what's happening. I want them to be forever vigilant and stay tuned, you know, and you know, I hate to use this term, you know, because it's such a, you know, a cliche-ish and young people, you know, but boots on the ground. I mean, people need to be very, very aware of what's going on in their nation. I mean, they are eliminating, you know, DEI programs. They are taking people out of museums. They're taking books out of the Library of Congress that talks good about Black people. I mean, it's unconscionable what's happening. And I think the American people need to be aware of it, and they need to know in 18 months they can do something about it, not only in Louisiana, but in the nation. You know, people need to really, you know, if there ever was a time we need to pay attention and be accounted for, now is that time. And thank you so much for having me, and thank you to all your listeners who've been listening.
And appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on.
And don't be a
Congressman.
stranger in Lafayette. Drop into the radio station, drop into the TV station. We will always welcome, because we need to know what's going on in D.C.
Absolutely.
The
Thank you
lines
very
are
much.
lighting up.
Thank you so much.
The phone lines are lighting up.
There you go.
The phone
That
lines.
was
Congressman Cleo Fields.
Congressman Cleo Fields. Coach is a not senator. I know you're calling him senator from back in the day, but he's a congressman now. We want to keep the titles right for the people to understand.
Let's take that call, brother.
That's Coach. Coach, give us a second. Give us a second, Coach.
to
Call
reset.
back. Call back. Again, people, we really appreciate Congressman Cleo Fields giving this valuable time working on some legislation. And they got people who might say, well, you know, Brother Jay, we don't want to vote. We're not into that. But the question is, the same people the people who's out there in D.C. are making legislation to either help us or hurt us.
So,
and that's what I want to say.
But what I want to stress, Brother Jay, what I want to stress to the audience, you just heard it from the congressman himself, is what's in that package that's at the Senate, and if it passed, what you looking at? You're looking at cuts to Medicaid. You're looking at cuts to SNAP, the food stamp program. You're looking at cuts to the housing urban and housing development.
All these home health
health
companies out here, and all these companies that service our loved ones. You know,
looking at cuts to jobs.
You know, healthcare,
and people losing. I'm painting that with that negative portrait I always paint. If you lose your job as a home health worker, a caregiver, and you can't pay your mortgage, you can't pay your car note, where does that leave you people? It's great that we celebrate and clown every weekend here in South Louisiana, go eat all the good food up and all that. But people, pay attention. It's more to than having your boots on the ground in that way. Have your boots on the ground to be involved in your job, in your community, know what your politician is doing, know the people who working for you or the people who working against you. That's what I'm saying.
And anybody anybody who works in the healthcare field, anybody who are receiving parts of this service should be calling their U.S. senator. You need to find your U.S. senator and should be calling your U.S. senator and telling your U.S. senator they don't need to vote for this package because it's a lot of things. We just can't stress
Mike Johnson,
enough.
the Speaker of the House from Louisiana.
A lot of things.
He said, Key, 1.4 in an interview, and I could allude to what he's saying. 1.4 million Louisianians might be committing fraud because that's what they might be doing.
Might be. But the thing of it is,
and they're the one committing the fraud in Congress.
That's what I'm saying. What you call these people?
MAGA?
Yeah, the mega crowd.
Mega MAGA.
Is the one that's committing the fraud. They're the one that's putting
Elon Musk.
power people in the front of them. In the front of us.
How much is $300 billion?
Correct.
And most of that is taxpayers' money subsidizing his businesses.
Yeah.
And when his business was about to go under, it was President Obama who okayed that those loans and those programs.
Correct.
Get it. And he was about to lose everything.
And we talking about trillions of dollar cuts into healthcare. Trillions of dollars of cuts, man.